Good morning, folks. Today I'm going to talk about herbal remedies, home remedies, folk cures, whatever you want to call them. Um, Obviously, some of them will work, and the ones that are oldest and most well known are the ones that are going to work the best. However, um, be careful about how you go about gathering these ingredients. Um, for example, one that was suggested to me recently uh, involves using apple leaves from apple trees. Now, I've never heard of the particular uh, cure that this person was talking about, and uh, assuming that there aren't any compounds that are potentially toxic or dangerous in the leaves themselves, I don't necessarily see a problem with making some sort of uh, concoction from these. Um, a tisane or a tea or whatever it would be called. But I will point out a couple of things. If you're using leaves from the ground or personally harvested materials to make something that you are planning to drink as an herbal cure, uh, two very big things you need to do. Make sure your ingredients are cleaned, and I don't mean throw them into boiling water, which also is something you should do, but make sure you at the very least rinse them thoroughly before you use them. You can use cold water. Cold water, if we're talking about leaves, for example, cold water will cause the leaf to essentially seal itself so that anything in terms of sap or juice related compounds will be kept within the leaf until it's, excuse me, until it's boiled or what have you. The problem is that, well, see, 200 years ago, you could probably, people could probably pull the leaf off of a tree and chew it and be fine, uh, or at least fine-ish. Um, Part of the problem, or one of the potential problems, is that nowadays uh, we're not, as a species, especially in the extremely um, there's clearly a twig in my cigarette. So that one's no good. Knock that cherry off and let's try that again. Much better. But as a species, we're not inured, especially in the um, over clean West, to things like parasites or bird feces the way we used to be. So, in gathering herbs to uh, soothe the symptoms of one illness, you might actually be giving yourself a different one. And that's one thing that I would point out. Another would be to uh, realize that you can't just make a cup of tea and drop pieces of apple leaf into it and get the same effect as if you had actually boiled these apple leaves. Um, and bark and things like that. Uh, Now, my recommendation, if you're looking for something that's just going to soothe flu symptoms, I would recommend making a strong peppermint tea. And if you happen to have actual peppermint growing in your vicinity, by all means go pick it, clean it, rinse it, wash it, whatever. You don't need to use soap, obviously. That's kind of defeating the purpose, because ingesting soap is very bad for you. But uh, if you're going to do something in that vein, if you're planning to make some sort of herbal medicine or herbal remedy for yourself, you have to realize everything needs to be boiled. And if you're making, say, this particular apple-based remedy where you take some bark from the apple tree and some leaves and use that, yeah, it's not like you just make a cup of tea, drop that stuff in, strain it out, and then you're good. No, if you're going to do that, you need to boil the solution, the mixture, before you even attempt to ingest it. Uh, Mostly because boiling will concentrate those ingredients into the fluid. Uh, and then I would also recommend straining the hell out of it. Um, Filtering it in some fashion through a coffee filter might not be a bad choice. Or something even finer if you have it. But a couple of simple remedies that I can suggest that are easy to come by. Peppermint tea. It's very good for flu symptoms and for all the things that Pepto-Bismol is supposed to take care of. Or even just get peppermint essence if it's actual peppermint and not some sort of artificial flavor. Peppermint oil is extremely good. Which it's good for clearing your sinuses, good for soothing you to go to sleep. Uh, there's an aromatherapeutic aspect to that. I don't generally buy into the, oh, if you smell lavender, you'll relax. But no, no. But peppermint is an extremely good curative for quite a few things. Um, I would also recommend, um, if you have peppermint candies, make sure they're actually made with peppermint essence and not something like um, an artificial flavor, because you're not going to get the benefits of actual peppermint that way. Now, to make it very clear, I'm not offering you medical advice. I am in no way a licensed medical practitioner, nor do I believe that people should be necessarily making their own remedies. Generally, I mean, there are certain recipes that you can follow, certain processes and technologies you can apply that have been time tested by other people's trial and error. This thing with the apple bark, I have grave concerns about it because I've never heard of this, and I live in a place where apple trees grow. Not in great profusion. They're occasionally, uh, they're somewhat rare and fairly natural, but yeah, um, you can certainly, you'd probably be better off simply eating the apples. Um, but my recommendation when it comes to something like a home remedy or a herbal remedy is look for things that people have used for hundreds of years that work. Uh, a mustard poultice, for example, is supposed to be really good for a cough. Uh, I don't know. Never needed to use one, but if it works, it works. Um, but yeah, you have to be aware that if you're taking anything from nature, you are potentially endangering yourself either with parasites or poisons. Um, I believe it's apple seeds are supposed to contain some sort of dangerous compound like strychnine or something like that. Now, I used to eat apple seeds because I like almonds, nuts, things like that. And when I would finish an apple, I would take the seeds and I would bite them until I got the little white core out. Now, I did this a lot when I was a kid with Canadian apples. Never had a problem. Tried it once with an American apple, and I'll never do it again because all I could taste from those seeds was the chemical pesticides that were used in the orchard. Yeah, yeah. Not not really a great taste. 10 minutes already? Holy crap! I thought I'd only been talking for a couple. Did I get abducted by aliens for a second there? But yeah, uh, if you're having flu-like symptoms, go get a hot cup of something, soup, tea, whatever. The hot water itself is going to be helpful because it'll raise your internal body temperature, give your body a break from heating you to actually put resources into your immune system. Um, and I know that sounds kind of wonky, but it's probably not biologically accurate either. But that's always the way I've thought of it. Um, if you're trying to sleep, don't go near an apple. Apples will keep you awake. There is something about the chemical makeup of apples that basically makes it very hard to get to sleep. And I've made the mistake repeatedly of drinking, say, some sort of cranberry cocktail or something like that, some juice blend, and doing that right before bed, thinking, yeah, this will be something different than just plain water to go to sleep on. And then, of course, being sometimes hours before I could get to sleep. And generally, if you look at the ingredients in a lot of fruit cocktails, you'll see apple juice used, uh, either for the sweetness, to take some of the bite from things like cranberry, etc. Um, but you have to be aware of what you're actually drinking. You're not just drinking, when it comes to a cranberry cocktail, for example, you're not necessarily just drinking the straight juice of a fruit. In a lot of cases, anything that's juice blended, like a cocktail, will have some other juice besides what's necessarily in the big letters on the label. So look at your ingredients. If there's apple in it, don't drink it before you're trying to go to sleep, because you're not going to sleep. Not right away. It'll take you hours to get to sleep. And if your goal is to get to sleep, to rest, to heal, it's not going to help. Um, you're better off with coffee, for example. Um, for me, I find that if I drink a hot cup of coffee and lay down, I'm going to sleep almost immediately. Um, any non-caffeinated warm drink, which doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, will also do the job. Uh, there's a what am I thinking of here? I'm going to pause while I think. There's a English. There's a definite benefit to drinking uh, uncaffeinated hot drinks to try to get to sleep. For whatever reason, it's in our nature to want to sleep when we fill our bellies with something very warm. Uh, Personally, if you're feeling sick, I would recommend, with flu-like symptoms rather, I would recommend you drink a cup of very strong peppermint tea. So you can take two of the bags, tea bags with tea in them, drop two in there. Uh, I tend to suggest you avoid sugar because sugar is another stimulant. Uh, it's much shorter term, but it's also bad for you. Uh, if you're going to want something sweeter than that, add a bit of honey, maybe. Personally, I find that peppermint tea is more than sweet enough. Uh, if your only real symptom is nasal congestion, uh, go and get some cinnamon. And not the ground cinnamon. Get some stick cinnamon and break off a piece. Like just take the stick, and it's literally a stick. It literally is wood. You take a piece of that, probably an inch or so long, and just break that off. And you only need a sliver, a little piece that will fit in your cheek. Just put that in your cheek, suck on that for a while. It's going to be strong. Uh, Generally, the fresher the cinnamon is, the stronger it will be. So you'll want to move that around in your mouth so you don't end up with what feels like a chemical burn, but probably isn't. Uh, don't go to sleep with that in your mouth, by the way. That's a piece of wood you've got in your mouth. Uh, Once it gets soft enough to chew, by all means chew it up and swallow it. I've done that many times. Uh, but the good thing about that is it's also a breath freshener and very good for clearing the sinuses. And uh, yeah, so I mean, things like cinnamon, peppermint, things that have very strong uh, vapor releasing tendencies, uh, they're going to be better for you if you store buy them than they would be if you just go out and harvest them yourself. Also, good luck harvesting your own cinnamon if you live in North America. um, but I mean, a lot of these old-timey, ancient remedies are still known because they work. So, you know, yeah. If you're really, really clogged up, have some spicy food. Now, don't go stupid spicy if you're not normally a spicy food eater. Uh, like, don't immediately jump to, say, habaneros, but if you can handle the heat from a jalapeno, go for it. Have something with jalapeno in it. Right? Uh, like a lot of these most common symptoms that people have, they can be ameliorated or even uh, not cured. Cured isn't the right word, but they can be dealt with in general with things in your kitchen more easily than, well, no, not necessarily more easily, but in a manner similarly effective to what you can buy over the counter, specific to what you need at the time. The good thing about things like cinnamon, peppermint, jalapeno, these are all things that you can use in actual foods. Um, if you're finding that you're really, really congested in the chest, uh, make yourself a cup of soup, chicken soup. Now, you can use actual, natural, homemade chicken, or you could go and do the store-bought thing. The effect is roughly the same. Uh, but if you do what I do, which is chicken noodle soup, because I like noodles, add a bit of mustard. Uh, if you're making, say, a saucepan-sized serving, put a spoonful of mustard in there. It'll change the flavor, but it also has a really curative effect on chest congestion. Uh, I can't believe I've actually talked almost 19 minutes about this. And amazingly stayed focused on pretty much the proper topic the whole time. Well, ain't that something? And I'm out of coffee. Okay. Hope you guys are having a good day. I hope you continue to have good days. And rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.